edition. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news. Our major stories this evening, most of them working in precarious working conditions in Cameroon. Workers today joined others across the globe to observe the International Labour Day. It is a day dedicated to ameliorate the condition in which laborers and other workers spend more than 8 hours of their day. The theme for this year centers on social dialogue, decent work as a factor of peace. We will tell you how workers in the northwest and southwest regions brave daily insecurity challenges just to feed their families. And in this news edition, we will let you into one sector which many fear to delve into, the mortuary and mortuary attendants. They too are workers. Our reporter Stella spoke with some mortuary attendants in Bamenda, where taking care of so many corpses they receive almost on a daily basis has become their normal. Those are our lead stories viewers. Details will be covered. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for always being with us. Thank you for your usual confidence, and happy International Labour Day to you all. We told you in the headlines, trade unionists in the faculty division have said a genuine attention should be paid to the situation of workers in the division, especially those in municipal councils who go for several months without salaries. This was during the celebration of the International Day at the Manga Williams Avenue in Limbe. Rex Afon on the ground provides us with highlights of the event.
The celebration of the 140th edition of the International Labour Day here in Limbe was marked by the resounding presence of the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator, who came out in their numbers to march past for the very first time since they were commissioned to office by a decree from the head of state.
The staff of office are governed by the labor code. So the institutions, the head of the institution, Madam the Public Independent Conciliator, feel that it's a moral obligation for her to recognize and encourage these personnel over the institution to perform his duties, carry out his missions on a daily basis, to participate in the celebration of the day internationally devoted to recognizing the efforts of workers.
The workers from different sectors of life have all marched past. As you can see, some are marching.
You know, Blue Bells Empire is a very prestigious company. We've put in a lot of work, you know, developing the country, doing so much work for the growth of the country as a whole. So a day like this one is very special to us when we come together to actually celebrate the work we do. I mean, it's just a beautiful feeling to remind us that we are hustlers and yeah, we are creating a positive impact in the community.
Also, we've seen the representative of the Workers' Syndicate, who has advocated very firmly in strong terms the protection of the rights of workers who often go for months without a due payment.
Social security must be respected. Funds are deducted from workers' salaries to send to CMPS. It doesn't reach, and which penalizes the workers. They don't get social coverage from the CMPS, the National Social Insurance Fund. Public authority must be able to respect the rights of workers. Some workers have attempted to create trade union confederation. They have not been able to do it because the public authorities in Yaoundé block. It is now like the kind of the station of the cross.
Reporting from the Manga Williams Avenue, I am Rex Afon, Equinoxe Television.
Thanks, Rex. And as workers celebrate or observe the International Labour Day today, we told you in the headlines as well as we delve into one of the least talked about professions in healthcare, mortuary attendants. Mortuary attendants are also workers, and they receive corpses on a daily basis, especially in Bamenda in the northwest region. Because of the Anglophone crisis, a small team working behind closed doors at the regional hospital in Bamenda is ensuring dignity in death despite stigma and challenging conditions. Our reporter Stella takes us into a place many fear to hear from those who work there on a daily basis. Her report.
Musa has spent the last 6 years working in the mortuary where many fear to go.
Working in the mortuary is easier than working with patients. I like working in the mortuary because from the beginning, I like the science of human body.
Beyond the walls of the mortuary, Musa says he faces stigma and social pressure from a community that often misunderstands his work.
you know, each and everyone will say it's on, even in the village, they mock at me. If you make and so you work for mortuary. So that challenges that, but I don't care.
At the Bamenda Regional Hospital, where Musa and 4 of his colleagues work, authorities acknowledge the importance and challenges of their work.
We work with the legal department. There are lots of deaths in the community that are unknown. They went the right to us and say they need expert opinion on those corpses. You know, the medical corps goes there to give some light to the legal department to take their decisions.
With the armed conflict, which has rocked the northwest and southwest regions for close to a decade, Musa says him and his colleagues also face pressure.
Sometimes we receive the head of the human dead body. The head comes, the trunk is not yet. After they bring the trunk at the advanced state of decomposition. So now it becomes challenging to know whether the head belongs to the trunk.
As the world commemorates the International Labour Day on May 1st, the Cameroon Journalists Trade Union held an exchange with mortuary attendants seeking to better understand their work and recognize their role in ensuring the dignified departure of the dead.
Every decent work needs to be recognized and appreciated. That is why we chose this sector in the Bamenda Regional Hospital, so we can come here and encourage the mortuary staff and let them know that what they do here is being seen.
The Bamenda Regional Hospital mortuary has a capacity of 100 corpses managed by just these 5 attendants working under strict procedures to ensure dignity of the dead.
And as workers are celebrating or observing the International Workers' Day today at the Mukolo Market in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, traders or activities were at a standstill somehow, with traders staging a debt market protest demonstration against the city council's demolition plans. Traders say they are upset about relocating to an unknown site, citing unfair treatment, and over 500 shops and 600 stores are affected, putting over 1,000 livelihoods at risk, as Immaculate Fogwe tells us in the report which comes up next.
Shops remain closed at the Mokolo market in Yaoundé as tensions rise among traders. Business owners, particularly those in the sector bay precisely behind Saper Mokolo, are staging a dead market protest to oppose a demolition project led by the city council. It is unacceptable that after a fire incident, now being told the market will be demolished, we are being taken to a place we do not even know. Yet this is a well-organized market and we faithfully pay our monthly fee.
Pourtant ici, c'est un marché qui est bien organisé. Plus de 500 boutiques ici et 600 comptoirs.
This market holds more than 500 shops and about 600 stalls, supporting the livelihoods of over 1,000 people. Many of these traders have taken loans from banks and financial institutions. How will they pay?
Presque 10 millions par mois.
While the city council has allocated a budget for reconstruction following the fire, traders say the proposed relocation site and duration of the reconstruction process are unacceptable. I am desperate. Members of the government should listen to our cry. I have taken loans and I don't know how I will repay them. Please do not abandon us. In a bid to be heard, the traders have taken their grievances to the Prime Minister's office in Yaoundé. Dressed in black as a sign of mourning, they carry placards calling for justice. They say this move comes after the city council gave them a deaf ear.
And now let's talk about Labour Day. In the remote parts of the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, Labour Day was overshadowed by calls for better working conditions and renewed appeals for lasting peace. Workers say they are not only faced with poor wages, inconsistent peace and increasing cost of living, but also insecurity. than has seen some of them killed or displaced, chorus which echoed amidst high prospects of return to normalcy in the two English-speaking regions of the country. For me, Armstrong Sander, in the report which comes up next, tells us how Labour Day went on in some remote parts of the Anglophone regions.
The celebration, which brought together stakeholders from all the 9 councils of the Indian Division, was presided over by the Senior Divisional Officer Gilbert Gibai-Bardena. The ceremony began with the singing of the national anthem following the arrival of the SDO. A high point of the event was when Chief Ondatu, President of the Workers' Union, presented the challenges facing workers. He urged employers to address their plight, stating that an unsatisfied worker cannot be productive.
We pray management to convert all workers within 2 years of service to permanent contract.
Chief Ondatu called on employers to pay salaries promptly, promote hardworking staff, and put safety and security measures in place. He also demanded that salary arrears be paid and stressed that social dialogue and cohesion should not be neglected, as they give employers a platform to better understand employees' challenges and find solutions.
Inadequate safety and healthcare, boots, rain boots, hand gloves, and other safety gadgets are sometimes very late.
The Senior Divisional Officer Gilbert Gibai-Bardena reassured the entire workforce of the Indian Division that the administration and security forces are working relentlessly to maintain the newfound peace achieved following the neutralization of a notorious separatist leader across the division.
I therefore invite the workers and producers to take advantage of this important event to get back to work, emphasizing social dialogue, which is the ultimate guarantee of decent work, economic growth, and social cohesion.
He called on mayors, councillors, politicians and elites to raise awareness in their communities and urge those still bearing arms to lay them down and be reintegrated.
Consolidate every day. I therefore invite the workers and producers to take advantage of this important event to get back to work, emphasizing social dialogue.
To traditional rulers, he reiterated the call of the Minister of Territorial Administration for them to return to their communities and take control, stressing that absolute and sustainable peace is a collective effort. The Senior Divisional Officer reassured workers and the population that the government is working to improve both security and working conditions. He noted that with the return of peace following the neutralization of the once notorious separatist leader, commonly called Striker, by security forces in Mundembra, workers should return to their jobs to avoid labor being hired from the neighboring Nigeria. He called on enterprises like PAMOL, CDC, and SGSOC to reinvest in long-abandoned segments of their plantations. To internally displaced persons, he urged them to return to their communities and help rebuild. In closing, the SDO expressed satisfaction with the massive turnout of stakeholders from both the public and private sector at this year's International Labour Day in Mundemba.
And back to Douala, the Beseke ceremonial grounds, workers turn out massively to observe the International Labour Day today, and the event was presided at the Beseke ceremonial grounds by the governor of the Littoral Region, Samuel Detenons, in the presence of the city mayor and other stakeholders plus labor officials. Trade unionists used the opportunity to express some of their grievances they face, and difficulties they face on a daily basis at their workplaces. Now let's listen to the governor of the Littoral Region, Samuel Detenons in this excerpt selected by Loma Eru.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear workers, This year, our celebration is taking place in a context where social dialogue established as a Republican virtue is bearing encouraging fruits. Within the framework of the Decent Work Country Program, the Neutral region has witnessed a remarkable improvement in employer and employee relations. I commend the professionalism of the staff representatives and the commitment of employers to promote decent work. The signing of numerous collective agreements and the reduction of social conflicts within our companies, particularly in Douala sport and industrial sectors, testify to this significant progress. However, we must not overlook the remaining challenges facing. Despite growth projections over 4% for 2026, the Cameroonian labor market continues to face significant structural challenges, such as access to decent work. Access to decent work remains limited for a large portion of our young graduates, exacerbating invisible underemployment.
In other news, as media men and women brace up for the World Press Freedom Day, Cameroon remains or has once again been classified as a red zone for press freedom, with Reporters Without Borders reporting a further decline in its 2026 World Press Freedom Index. The country ranks 133rd out of the 180 countries, down from the position of 131st that was in the year 2025. For me, Armstrong Sander has greater details.
The country ranks 133rd out of 180 countries, down from 131st in 2025. Its overall scores dropped to 40.88% out of 100, according to Reporters Without Borders data released this week. Reporters Without Borders designate countries with very serious press freedom issues as red zones. The classification for Cameroon is based on what the organization describes as a deteriorating situation under President Paul Biya's administration. Reporters Without Borders cites several factors in its assessments. These include physical attacks, threats, arrest and detentions of journalists for their work. The unresolved 2023 murder of journalist Martinez Zogo is listed as a prominent example. The report also points to legal harassment, noting that repressive laws, including prison sentences for press offensive, are used to prosecute and intimidate journalists. Political control over media is another factor. Reporters Without Borders states that the national regulator is seen as a subservient to the government, and the public media is used as a tool to political communication for the ruling regime. Ahead of the October 2025 presidential election, Reporters Without Borders documented what it called a sharp increase in violations, including police raids on TV stations during broadcasts. Economic pressure on media organizations is also cited. Reporters Without Borders says many outlets operate in Cameroon in precarious financial conditions, leaving journalists vulnerable to external pressures. The 2026 index marks the latest assessment by Reporters Without Borders of global press freedom conditions. Cameroon has been in the red zone category in the previous Reporters Without Borders report.
And now, before we move over to sports, let's have our foreign page roundup by Cedric Chakotu.
Mali paid tribute on Thursday to General Sadio Camara, Minister of Defense, who was killed on Saturday in an attack in the garrison town of Ketia. The funeral brought back into focus the commitment of this field general. Sadio Camara was deployed to northern Mali in the late 2000s amidst a resurgence of armed groups. Elsewhere, China lifts tariffs for all African countries except Eswatini. Officials and business leaders in South Africa and Kenya welcomed the new policy, saying it will expand trade opportunities, reduce costs for small businesses, and strengthen bilateral cooperations. Until now, only the 33 last developed countries in Africa were exempt from tariffs on goods traded in China. It will expand trade opportunities, reduce costs for small businesses, and strengthen bilateral cooperations. Until now, only the 33 last developed countries in Africa were exempt from tariffs on goods traded in China.
And in sports, the battle for supremacy in the Elite One Championship continues this weekend as the 17 matches take center stage, with Unisport of Bafang expected to consolidate its position at the top when they tackle fourth of Azu. Elsewhere, the under-20 Lionesses are expected to get better results when they host Tanzania this Saturday in the first leg qualifiers of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. The winner of the two-legged games is expected to be in Poland. Mandikan Gabriel tells us more.
With the title race heating up, pressure mounting for the bottom teams, the Elite One League will continue to deliver thrilling encounters as Match Day 17 comes up this weekend in different stadia across the national territory after humiliating Fouf Azu of Yaoundé 6-0. Another Yaoundé-based club, which is first from the bottom, AS Fortuna, will be guest to league leaders Unisport of Bafang in the night game of the Elite One Championship at the Melong Municipal Stadium. The early game will see Aigle Royal of Mongo welcoming Dynamo of Douala in a littoral regional derby, while the second game will see Stade Renard hosting second place Colombe Sportif of Janelobo. Fifth place club Coton Sport of Garoua will offer its hospitality to PWD of Bamenda. Gazelle FA tackles Victoria United, while in Yaoundé, Canon Sportif clashes against Panthère Sportif of Ndé, and Fouf Azu, that was badly beaten on Match Day 16, will want to redeem itself when they host Aigle Royal of Menua. After 16 playing days, Unisport of Otenkam is comfortably seated at the top of the table with 36 points, while AS Fortuna is the Benjamin with just 12 points. In female football, the road to the Under-20 Women's FIFA World Cup reopens for the Lionesses, who will be confronting their counterparts from Tanzania this Saturday at the Ahmadu Ahidjo Stadium. The Lionesses, who have been in camp for several weeks, recorded a win and a defeat in two warm-up games.
We have a very positive note. Since we started the training camp, we noticed a lot of lapses from the girls when we started, and progressively as we worked, we have been ameliorating these lapses.
On their side, the Under-20 women's team from Tanzania, who are already in the country for days now, have also been fine-tuning strategies to get a better result while in Cameroon before getting their qualification on home ground. The winner of the two-legged game will qualify for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup to be hosted by Poland.
Thanks, Matt. And before we go, viewers, let's take this official report from the Ministry of Defense on a massacre which happened in the Nseremian village in the Bui division of the northwest region, in which at least 14 persons were declared dead. It comes days after Pope Leo XIV's plea for peace and disarmament during his visit to Cameroon's conflict-torn northwest region, where he urged leaders to reject the profit of war and restore dignity through dialogue. Yet, the contrast to the core, heavy gunfire echoed once more in the Bui division as government troops intensified operations against separatist fighters. That is, according to the Ministry of Defense, now confirms the killing of 14 suspected combatants in what it describes as a large-scale operation. Another reminder that the guns are still to be dropped. Babila Jonathan with greater details.
The masters of war pretend not to know that it takes only a moment to destroy. Yet often, a lifetime is often not enough to rebuild. They turn a blind eye to the fact that billions of dollars are spent on killing, on devastation, yet the resources needed for healing, education, and restoration are nowhere to be found. Those who rob your land of its resources generally invest much of the profit in weapons,
After Pope Leo XIV condemned investment in military action in conflict situations during his recent visit to Cameroon, the tracking and killing of armed civilians continued in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions. In a statement released April 30, 2026, the Ministry of Defense of Cameroon says defense and security forces carried out a large-scale search operation early Sunday, April 26th, in the locality of Zeremnyam Jakiri Subdivision, Bui Division, in the crisis-stricken northwest region. According to the press release, the operation was triggered by intelligence from residents about a group of heavily armed fighters preparing coordinated attacks under the self-styled General Capo. The ministry reports that 11 male fighters and 3 female logisticians were neutralized in the confrontation. Security forces also seized several weapons, 12 improvised explosive devices, remote detonators, military gear, and 38 motorcycles. 2 wounded suspects, including a 16-year-old identified as the bodyguard of General Capo and a woman said to be his logistics officer and alleged partner, were captured while attempting to flee. This is happening amid criticism of what is now known as the military strategy to resolve the Anglophone conflict from national and international political and civil society leaders and human rights defenders.
Tracking down is not the solution, because when you track, you kill or you put in prison, that is not the solution. Like I said, you know, I've gone beyond the tracking down. I said you can kill all Anglophones, those that are living and those that are still to be born. Kill all of them, you have not solved the Anglophone problem. Kill all of them is not a victory. A victory is not in killing people. A victory is in listening to a people, understanding the problem and solving it.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Defense insists operations are still ongoing to capture those qualified as fugitives in a bid to reaffirm the Army's determination to dismantle armed groups in the region.
Thanks, Babila, for that report, which brings us to the end of this edition of the news. Thank you, viewers, for always being with us. And once again, happy International Labour Day to you all. And always remember, what is worth doing is worth doing well. That does it for this edition. Our programs continue. Equinoxe will be yours in about 30 minutes. And the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. with Irish Ngono Mala. Have a blessed weekend in the company of programs on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.